I've taught for 30 years. I, I don't know that the official biography does very much to illuminate my life, really. I'm a mother, a wife and a mother. My son is 22 years old. I began writing when I was 9 years old. I was introduced to poetry writing by my mother during a blizzard in Michigan when we were all snowed in and had nothing to do. And she, in her desperation, suggested that I write a poem. It was interesting because I began writing this memoir without realizing I was writing a memoir. I had been having conversations with a young, deaf refugee from Odessa in the Ukraine, in the former Soviet Union. His name is Ilya Kaminsky. I taught Ilya for 7 years. And so one day, after one of our conversations, I went in and just started writing. And I put it away in a box. There were about 60 pages of this dialogue with Ilya. And then my house was destroyed by water one night in January 2003. Now, this was in part disastrous, but it was also a real cleansing of my life because the house was inundated, everything was destroyed, books and papers and manuscripts and everything floating around in muddy water. And so but I got this box that had survived the flood, and I sent it to my literary agent, and I asked her if there was anything she could do with it, anything at all. And she found a publisher for it. And this meant not only that I was writing a book, but that I had to finish it. Unfortunately, life intervened in the house and the rebuilding, and then I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and then there was the chemotherapy and the radiation, and suddenly one deadline passed, then another deadline passed, and there was no book. And I came to Hedgebrook for 15 days in October 2007. And I wrote more in those 15 days than I had written in 50 years of writing before that, in such a period of time. It was magnificent. It was like opening a dam or a floodgate. It just came and came. And it was this more and more pages of the memoir. And so this is how the day passed. I woke up in the morning, I watched the sunrise. I had written pages before 10 in the morning. And it was lovely. There was solitude and silence, and it was safe. And I could look out on the water. I could take walks in the forest. I felt as a woman safe, which women don't often feel, especially in strange places. When one writes poetry, there's a kind of a mystery, a necessary mystery to the poem, a necessary restraint, and so much isn't disclosed or explained in the poems. So I think this work that I'm doing now perhaps complements that, or allows me a kind of freedom to speak I didn't have in the genre I had lived in all my life. While it's terrifying, it's also illuminating. It focuses the mind. It focuses the life. You have to come to terms with the present, and that you're here, and that you won't be here. None of us will be here at some moment unknown to us in the future. But when you have a diagnosis like that, you have the privilege of being aware of it, even for a brief period of time. I have always, I think, written out of a deep wonder at man's inhumanity to man. Writers really write because of language. We write because we have a peculiar relationship to words on paper, and to language, and to describing things, and to building worlds on paper. It begins with an obsession. In poets, it's an obsession with music and diction and syntax and line. And I have a great faith in young people today. I teach them. And this is a wonderful group of young people who are aware of the direness of the circumstances they were born into. They're uncommonly serious about it, really, despite what we might see exhibited in media. I teach them. They are practically committed to rescuing Earth. And that gives me great hope.